Welcome back. You're still watching NBS Live at 9. Now, civil society's anti-corruption agencies have linked the rampant corruption levels to lack of political will to tackle the vice. The organizations accuse government of failing to implement existing political laws. Here is more.
Days after the government launched lifestyle audit as a way of fighting corruption among public officials, civil society organizations in the anti-corruption fight have pinched holes in the new mode of fighting corruption, saying it's not grounded.
We already have been having a whole issue of selective prosecution and investigation. So we just hope that the same doesn't happen this time round.
Marlon Agaba, the head of programs at the Anti-Corruption Coalition Unit, and Gerald Pade Auku, programs officer at the Transparency International Uganda, they are bothered by the president's statement, which they say is an indicator of lack of political will in the fight against corruption.
Be careful, because we are still lucky that our corrupt people are corrupt here.
Corruption is bad. Stealing and investing, whether within the country or outside, is bad. And
stealing public resources and investing in some kind of clean business, like you want to call it, like hotels, is illegal. That is money laundering.
They actually have to live by example, so that instead of politicking, they should rather go to the basics.
This, however, advised the government to adopt the civil forfeiture rather than spending time in courts of law where cases take long to be disposed of.
That if you have assets and you cannot defend how we acquire those assets, then the state can take away those assets even if you haven't been convicted in any court. The
growing debt burden, which has since grown from 47.1 trillion in 2019 to 70.4 trillion in 2021, according to the IGG report, is equally a great concern for the CSOs, saying it has crippled the economy in terms of service delivery. The civil society agrees that corruption can only end if the executive, headed by the president, decides to say no to corruption. Alex Mogasha, Alan Mwesigwa, NBS Live at 9.
Giving more attention to corruption, a major concern in Uganda, causing far-reaching damages and requiring the attention of all stakeholders because of its detrimental effects on the economic development, social welfare and political prospects. So irrespective of several anti-corruption interventions, the vice continues to escalate. And this evening, discussing these issues is Christine Biringiro, Programs Manager, Uganda Debt Network. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mebo.
Remind us again the cost or the magnitude of corruption as a burden to this country.
Yes, just this month, the Inspector General of Government came out and said that we lose about 22 trillion annually to corruption. But the head of the anti-corruption unit in the State House also came up last year to say that we lose about 2 trillion annually in corruption. We have also seen the World Bank come out and say that for every $1 invested in Uganda's capital infrastructure, we only generate 0.7 economic worth. And compared to the US, for instance, about 2000, they were able to generate about $6 for every $1 invested. So we see that we are operating at a loss as a country because we cannot even recoup what we have invested. So the cost of corruption is really, really high in Uganda.
Okay, so as civil society, you say government has failed to implement the existing laws. So the issue is that the laws are not weak laws, right? Yes. And then you say that there's lack of political will. So if that has failed, then what are the alternatives?
Well, there's quite a number of alternatives, but the main alternative, and what we always advise government to do, is to have political will. And with political will, there are three key components which must move together. That is the laws, the institutions to implement these laws, but most importantly, we want to see implementation of these laws without any selective prosecution or segregation. If you have violated the laws, whether